Today, I'm starting off a video series where I do accessibility audits on my side projects and fix the issues that come up. So we're starting with my knittingrecipes.com website, which is a React app that I built a couple of years ago to generate knitting patterns that are custom to your measurements for socks or a hat pattern. It's just a 3-page application. It has this home page here. It has a generator for a hat, and it has a generator for a pair of socks. I'm going to start by running a Lighthouse audit on each of these 3 pages, just using Lighthouse, which is the built-in tool that comes with Chrome. So generate report. Lighthouse is saying that we're getting 100% accessibility score here, which is awesome. Automated testing generally is only going to catch about half your issues. It is a good place to start, which is why that's where I'm starting. So I have another extension installed called Axe. It's an open source accessibility testing library, and Lighthouse is actually using Axe as its engine. But since I have found that sometimes Axe catches things, Lighthouse doesn't, I want to run this on this page too. Axe is showing that there are 10 issues. Elements must have sufficient color contrast, 9 of those. Page must contain a level 1 heading. Looking at the elements that need better contrast. Needs my review because it is hard for them to determine automatically. It's saying that this I want to knit thing here is it possibly doesn't have enough color contrast because they can't tell what the background color is because of this big image here. So I'm going to inspect this color here, and I'm just going to get that from our computed properties. So here we have this color 212529, and I like to use this WebAIM color contrast checker to check my my colors. So I'm going to pop that in as the foreground color. And then I'm going to come back. I have a color picker tool installed called Colorzilla. I've been using this one since like 2006. I don't know if there are better ones out there. I just keep using the one I use. Pick color from page and try to get like a representative sample of the background. So since this background it's white or close to white, but it has some reduced opacity on it, so you can slightly see the background image through it. So I want to take whatever like the darkest spot I can see is to make sure that I'm getting the lowest possible contrast to compare, because it has to be, high enough contrast even in the lowest spot. I'm not really seeing a ton of dark spots here, so I'll just grab this one. Colors copied, so let's go over here to the background color, and it looks like our color contrast is actually okay. So we can ignore that issue. All of these color contrast issues are around the stuff that's inside this little box on this background, so I think we're going to be okay. But one I do want to check is I have like a border on my link that's a light gray, and I actually don't know if that is enough contrast for someone to be able to see that there's actually a link there, because that's my only indication is there I have that gray bottom, and then it changes to blue on hover. So let's see what's going on. Plug in that foreground color. Yeah, it's failing everything. So even though it's not text, I do want to fix this because so I've got like a gray for my regular text and then like a sort of a dark green for my link text. The difference between the gray and the green is not enough without that bottom border for someone to be able to see that that is a link. And if someone with low vision is looking at this and there's not enough contrast between this border and the background so they can't see it, then that is a problem. It means they're not going to know that that's a link. The other issue that we're definitely going to want to resolve is this page must contain a level 1 heading. So you might have noticed when we looked at this I want to knit area, the markup for this is actually a span with a class of H1. I used Bootstrap to style this for the most part because I was really focusing on just getting the application part working. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the styles. And I guess I decided that this didn't need an H1 and that should look like an H1 without being an H1. And then you might see I'm also using that span as the label for this select So what I think I want to do instead is I'm going to make this I want to knit ... an H1. I think I actually don't want it to be inside this label element, and I'm actually going to get rid of the label element. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate that H1 with this select with an aria labeled by, so that assistive technology will still understand that this I want to knit is labeling this dropdown. Welcome to my code base. It is a mess. So I mentioned that I'm using Bootstrap for this project. All of my customizations are in this custom.scss file. I've added some custom variables. Here's my color scheme here. And then I've overwritten, like, Bootstrap uses a primary variable, and I've said that for primary I want to use my dark green color, secondary I want robin egg blue, etc. So I'm going to start with the link border color. Let's see where our styles are coming from for that. All right, so in my custom styles, I have some styles for links here with the border bottom. So I think what I want to do is see if I have a different color in my color scheme that has enough contrast with the background and use that as the border color instead. So let's see. I think this right now is the hover color, this robin egg blue. It's interesting that I've called it ally robin egg blue. I think I must have at some point tested color contrast and decided that whatever I was using originally wasn't right, although I also have that robin egg blue, so I don't know what that's about. Let's see. Interesting, okay. Okay, I'm gonna rename this to like dark, the robin egg blue dark. I don't like that I've called it ally robin egg blue. That doesn't make any sense to me anymore. Okay. Cool. And now I'm reasonably sure that that robin egg blue dark is going to have enough contrast with the background, but just to double check, I'm going to pop over to my WebAIM contrast checker tool, pop it in as the foreground color. And so that would fail on that background for normal text, but it does pass for large text. And since this is a fairly thick border, I think it'll be okay. Just to be safe, why don't we go a little bit darker here? So we can use this handy slider. Go until we pass everything. Awesome. Okay. And then let's find our link styles. Sweet. So right now we were using that info color. Instead of using the info color, I'm going to use our robin egg blue darkest that we just defined. Well, that's definitely enough contrast, but I also kind of hate it. So let's do something else here. I just think that's like drawing the eye way too much. So something we can do is I can leave that original border color as long as I have some other way of identifying the link. All right, so I'm going to say I want our link to have a... So I'm going to add a text decoration underline here and use the old border. And then on hover, I'm going to remove the text decoration and use that border hover from before. So let's see what that looks like. All right. So now we have kind of like a double situation going on, which isn't my favorite either. But at least it is, much more obvious that it's a link. You know what I could do is, let's get rid of this border bottom entirely. So border bottom, pixels, whoops, soft. There we go. Let's give that a shot. All right. So now you see how this jumps? All right, So now I have a border of 5 pixel solid transparent, and that is making it so that that space is like taken up by a border that you can't see, so we're not bouncing around. So let's do that. Okay, and then here I don't need to override everything, just the color. Cool. I think that'll work. Looks good. I like it. Our next thing that we were going to deal with was how we have, I'm missing an H1 on my page. I need to change my span to be an H1, and then I need to associate it with our form so the form field still has a label. So here we have our form field. It's interesting. Why do I have this in a field set? Okay. All right, it doesn't make any sense that this isn't a field set. This is not a group of fields. This is a single field. So I'm actually going to remove that. Okay, that could have been because of Bootstrap. Bootstrap might make you do that. I have no idea. Let's see. Nope, it didn't break anything. We're good. Okay. So now I have my label, which is for project type. I have my select with an ID of project type, which is how this label is getting associated with it. The first thing I'm going to do is pull this out into its own actual H1. All right. And I'm going to put an ID on this project type header. I want to completely get rid of this label. Right now, I don't think anything visually will have changed here. Let's take a look. Yeah, so it looks exactly the same, I think. Yeah, my font is different now. I think because it was like a span, I was using a different font, so we'll fix that. But like visually, I think that you can tell that I want to knit is a label for a hat or socks. But now programmatically, they're not associated anymore, so I'll fix that now. So if we run ax on this again, I think it's going to say that this form field needs a label. So let's check it out. Yeah, select element must have an accessible name. Oh, look, there's a typo. So it's complaining that the select element doesn't have an accessible name anymore because there's no label programmatically associated with it anymore. To programmatically associate this H1 here with our select here, I'm going to use an aria labeled by. Oops. And I want the ID of my header. And that should associate the field. So now we're not seeing the select element problem anymore. So that's great. We've resolved that. We already said that these color contrast issues are things we don't have to worry about. So now I want to see what's going on here with this font that changed. Okay, so we're using an H1, which has the serif font on it. And then over here, this is our production one, which doesn't have these changes yet. Okay, so what's happening is it's just using the sans serif font, this Nunito, from the body because it's not an H1. I actually think I'm going to leave this change in place and use this serif font with this H1. So now let's dig into one of the pages. These guys look very similar. I'm just going to go with the socks one. So let's start off with our tasty Lighthouse tools here. And it's saying 100, which is awesome, but again, can only test like 50% of the issues automatically, so we do have to do some manual things. And they do mention that here. And then I want to run that ax checker again as well. Alrighty, so fewer issues here, which is cool. We have that page must contain a level 1 heading again. And then we have content info landmark must not be contained in another landmark. So let's start with this level 1 heading issue, because that's pretty straightforward. We just fixed it on the home page. And then we'll move into the content info issue. So once again, I was like, I want this to look like an H1, but not be an H1, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm going to change this to an H1. And it's definitely going to do the same thing as before, where the font's going to go to my serif font, but I think I'm just going to leave that alone. And then what was the other problem? Content info landmark must not be contained in another landmark. So I have this div role equals main. which should really just be a main, and I'm gonna fix that too. And then a footer inside main, and footer should not be inside main, footer should be outside main. Yeah, I don't know why I did this. So role equals main is the same as just saying main. So there's no like real problem there, but I just, you know, when it's possible to use the semantic elements, I want to use the semantic elements. And then, so our problem is that the footer is inside of main, and this footer is called this with a capital F because it's a React component. It's not the HTML element footer, but I think if we look up that component, I think it does use that HTML there. Yeah, so it's a footer here. So I'm going to bring this footer outside of main, and I think that's probably going to cause some issues where the footer is going to be not constrained by, you know, the width of main anymore. But let's just start here and see where that gets us. Yeah, so our footer is really wide now. Let's look at our main again here. So I think this class container, which is from Bootstrap, I think, is what's causing it not to be super wide. So I'm just going to apply that class on my footer as well. All right, I think that's good. Let's compare it to production. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So now let's check out the hat recipe too. See how it's looking. I think this has the same issue. Yeah, it does. Okay. Alrighty, so this footer just needs to move. Outside of our main, and I need to update this to be a main. So let's run X here and see what we're getting. Woohoo! 0 issues. That doesn't mean there's actually no issues left, but at the very least we've fixed all of those automatic issues. I don't love what I've done here with my link style. Okay, so I actually did change the color on accident. I think I got rid of p.h1 in paragraphs that have h1, so I'm just going to use h1 here. Oh, God, I really don't need to be nesting this deeply. Let's fix that too. Oops. Don't delete all the styles, Rachel. Oh my gosh. Boop, 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 boop. And then we have too many there. That should be good. Okay. So that's production. Local. That's better. Oh. I see. Okay, hold on. Okay. Well, I've made it match more closely, except the font, which I've decided to keep this font here. But now I'm again just using color to indicate that this is the link. So I think actually we'll switch this around so it's underlined to begin with, and then not underlined. So I don't think I even need this. Let me see. Yeah. Because I have another link style that's removing those, so we're good. Okay, so that's it for the issues that can be automatically detected with our tools that we have. And next time I will be doing a keyboard navigation audit and fixing issues I see there. And then upcoming as well, I'm going to do a screen reader accessibility audit and fix issues that come up there. I'm sure that there are going to be more issues, especially because I'm adding text dynamically to the page. I'm not sure if I'm exposing it correctly to the screen reader, etc., but we'll get there when we get there. So for now, I'm feeling good about this. I feel like we made a little bit of progress. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our keyboard audit fixes. And thanks for giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And please share it with your friends, especially your friends who think that Lighthouse is the be-all, end-all of accessibility testing. Thanks so much for tuning in.